And we're live. What's up, fellas and ladies? Ryan here with the DFS 5-pack. Hope you guys had an awesome Wednesday. No sports. It was kind of weird, right? Like not having anything to check on your phone. There was no World Series game, no NBA, but we do have some football tonight. So what I want to do today, and we'll come with the DraftKings information a little bit later on. What I want to do right now is just run through a couple of the matchups on the matchup shop for overlay. They did drop their information for the progressive tournaments. I believe it was late last night or early this morning. So we'll have to review those as well. Really going to be heavy on the football information, guys. So if you can do me a big favor, times are tough, right? Like we need to be spread around YouTube. So if you can click the thumbs up button, write a comment about maybe who you like tonight in the matchup shop. Any of that stuff is always sincerely appreciated from both Bellman and myself. If you can do that, that's great. Now, what do we want to talk about for the matchup shop tonight? Oh, yeah. Also, guys, if you go to the 5-pack website below, the NFL only package is only $69 for the rest of the year. If you are interested, that covers postseason, everything we do. We've added a lot of extra services for NFL, so we have so much extra time to think about it right now, right up there. All right, so let's mosey on. As you can see, when you get to the website, you have the opportunity to take a look at the tournaments, and you have an opportunity to take a look at the matchup shop. The matchup shop's been really good. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's fun. And I think it's a good way to make money, especially like you're not out there competing against just, a whole bunch of sharks with optimizers and big bankrolls. If you feel like you know your stuff and you're just trying to bet some of these 1v1 matchups, play some parlays, I know for me, it really helped my profit. I was able to pull out like $500 in here. Like, again, that's not a lot of money to some of you. That would be a bunch of money to, some of you others. It's really up to you what you play for, right? But was able to turn smaller amount of money into a lot more, which is always our goal playing DFS. All right, so Bridgewater versus Matt Ryan tonight. So this is an interesting one, and we're going to go to DraftKings for a few things, but it's only to just kind of look at like the points because these two teams matched up not that long ago. In this game against Carolina, Matt Ryan went for 7.94 points. Now, if I remember correctly, there was no Julio Jones in that game, right? Okay. Julio has a lot to do with the success of Matt Ryan. So I would not judge that game from what you could expect from Matt Ryan tonight. What we saw in that game from Teddy Bridgewater was a very solid game, right? About 24 DK points, give or take. Didn't really throw in a lot of rushing yards in that game, which is something he's been doing more of lately with double-digit rushing yards in all but 2 games. He was very efficient, 27 to 36. Got the 300-point bonus, but that's not applicable to whether these things score out in overlay. So my gut right here would be I would take Bridgewater, even with the minus points. Atlanta's defense is not great. That's where I would go. I don't like giving points, but I think I would give the points right here. All right. Next up, we got Todd Gurley taking on Brian Hill. So this is another one. Let's give a little bit of a comparison. One thing that we know about the Panthers defense is it can be run on. So Gurley versus Hill. I also want to reiterate, this is a half-point PPR website over on Overlay. Does that affect these two guys? Not really, because honestly, if you look at the receptions these guys have per game, Gurley's, 2 to 4. He's definitely been a little bit more involved lately. Meanwhile, Hill seems to get, 2 catches per game? Yeah, so again, it's kind of nominal on this one. It's not something we should be overly concerned ourselves with. Brian Hill, anywhere from 2 to 10 touches per game in the run, and then usually about 2 catches per game. You can see he consistently provides about 4 or 5 DK points, right? So that is transferable over to overlay, but closer to probably about 4 because it's the half-point PPR. Meanwhile, his counterpart, Todd Gurley. Big thing for Gurley is he is an end zone seeker still, right? 7 touchdowns this year. He's maybe not as good between the 20s as he once was, although he was very good against Carolina, who's terrible against the run. This is another one right here. Like, I'm usually an underdog guy in this situation, but I'll take Todd Gurley in the 8.5 points here. It's just not enough for me. I think Gurley's going to score today. I would bet good money he scores today. You can run on Carolina. They definitely give up a lot of short rushing touchdowns, and that's something where Gurley can expose. All right, DJ Moore versus Robbie Anderson. Ooh, that's a tough one. They gave you some tough ones tonight on the receivers because we got Julio against Ridley, and we got Moore against Anderson. Now, the 1.5 points is not big, right? It's a 10-yard catch. So I think in this situation, I'm not going to overly concern myself with the 1.5 points. If you think it's that tight, then hell yeah, man, go with Julio and DJ Moore. But I've really been impressed with Robbie Anderson this year. He's obviously Bridgewater's top guy. But the last 2 weeks, he has 13 targets and 150 yards. Meanwhile, DJ Moore has 16 targets and 180 yards. So it's difficult not to want the points with DJ Moore right here. Why? Because I think we all entered this season expecting Moore to be the go-to guy. He's a very good wide receiver in Carolina. Bridgewater really seems to have an affinity for Robbie Anderson. It's a tough call right here, right? Like, Overlay did a great job of giving us a question here that's going to be difficult to try to come up with like a for sure answer on. I don't really have a great answer for you. I think gun to head, I would pull off the recency bias, which is paired with what we thought about entering the season, and go with DJ Moore plus 1.5. But I don't want to tell you guys I'm super, super confident in this one. All right. Next up, we got Curtis Samuel against Mike Davis. Sounds like Christian McCaffrey is not going to play today. Very unlikely. So this is a good question here as well. So let's click on Mike Davis just so we can watch his stats. And then Curtis Samuel. So I will say Samuel has definitely had a role on this team lately with catches, all over the place the last couple of weeks. His efficiency is off the hook, right? He's been getting a few looks in the running game. He did rush in a touchdown last week. But I view him like, what are my projections for him tonight-ish, right? So let's just kind of look, based on his recent performance, knowing that we're not going to get McCaffrey back. Everybody's about healthy. I think it's safe to say we can expect about 4.5 catches, about 45 yards. So it'll work out to half point PPR, to 2.25, 6.5, 1/3 chance he scores. So give him about 8 or 9 points right here, ish. Now, he could definitely do better than that, but I'd say that's about what we should expect in the PPR type of game. All right, meanwhile, we got Mike Davis, who I think on the recency bias has not been great the last 2 games, but he's had very, very hard matchups against the Chicago Bears and the New Orleans Saints, who are not a great defense, but are solid against the run. So he's coming off of 2 really, really bad weeks right here. However, Atlanta is terrible against pass-catching running backs. Been that way for a long time. So even though it is a half-point PPR website, I would expect to see Mike Davis looking more like he did against the Chargers, Arizona, and Atlanta tonight. So even though it is a half-point PPR website, once again, I kind of want the points, and I want Mike Davis. That's a tough one to give 8.5 points like this, but if it was my money, I'd go with Mike Davis. We're on a small parlay. Julio versus Ridley. Man, I'd like to sit here and do a breakdown with you guys. These guys are both really, really good. I do not have a good answer for you. Gun to head, I'll probably take Julio and plus 1.5, but that's a tough one. All right, another one right down here, Russell Gage versus Hayden Hurst. If you guys caught me earlier this week, I talked about Hayden Hurst when he was plus 3. Only complaint right here, I wish I had done my full bet before. Oh, he was plus 2.5. I take that back. I was very interested in this one. Now it's the other way around. Now I would definitely go with Russell Gage plus 2.5 over Hayden Hurst, but I liked Hurst a little bit more. So, I'm not going to put money on it now and cancel out what I already did. It's just important to kind of watch the way the lines shift on these things. And the last one up, and one I like a lot, Kittle versus Ian Thomas. Ian Thomas is a non-factor. 7 catches, 50 yards this year. That's it. He's got next to no role on this team. As long as he doesn't score tonight, you can feel really good about this one. He scored once this year. Okay, yes, it could happen, but it's not something I'm overly concerned with. I like George Kittle because I think Kittle's going to have a big week. If you watched our public video yesterday where we broke down our favorite plays, Kittle, we like him a lot against Seattle this week. Give me Kittle. I don't think 10.5 is enough points personally. So the parlay of Mike Davis, Todd Gurley, and Teddy Bridgewater in this situation will pay out almost 6-1. So we'll lay a few bucks down in this one and then probably, not 56. Probably play around with a couple more of these just to try to get some skin into the game on this one. But that's how I view this tonight. We'll hit you guys with the DraftKings information a little bit later. Don't forget, we got the NFL package for sale for only $69 right now. If you can click the thumbs up on the video, it's always appreciated. And I'm more than happy to give out some free videos this week. If you go to my Twitter profile, the link is below. Retweet the pinned tweet. I'll continue to do this throughout the week. Let's rock and roll, guys. Thank you.